Hi there, Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles. So today we're going to finish up with the band Rush, and we're going to look at their output from the years 1991, I think it was 1991, right up into the 2000s, up until their last album, which came out in 2012. And this obviously is part of our prog rock journey. Next week we'll go into another band, see where that takes us. So without further ado, let's jump into the albums that Rush did in the 90s. They still carried on with their synth and keyboard sound, but slowly but surely Alex Lifeson was getting his guitar back. I think he'd been quite adamant about that to Geddy Lee. Some people want to put the blame of the keyboards and things at Geddy Lee's feet, but I think they've always been a collective, the band, and it was probably just a bit of tension between the guys as to which direction they were going. I don't think it was anything really serious. I don't think there was ever a chance of the band breaking up. They were just too close for that to happen. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the 1991 album Roll the Bones. There we go. This is produced by Rupert Hine and Rush. Not a bad album. There's a lot more guitar here than there was on the previous Presto, although that also started to get guitars back. So here we have Dreamline, Bravado, Roll the Bones, the title track, which is really cool. It even has a small rap section from Neil Peart, which is something you wouldn't have expected Rush to do. Face Up, Where's My Thing, The Big Wheel, Heresy, Ghost of a Chance, Neurotica, and You Bet Your Life. So there's quite a few, there's 10 tracks on here. Not a bad album, some good rock, some good guitar work from Alex Lifeson. I think he was glad to come back into the limelight kind of thing. And there's a shot of the guys. There's Neil Peart, and that's Alex Lifeson. And there's Mr. Geddy Lee, looking like some mad professor. Okay, then we move on to 1993's Counterparts, which for me is an amazing album. I actually listened to this yesterday and I've forgotten how really good it is. With this album, they got really heavy, some nice riffs, big fat sound, big fat production, not minimal at all. This was them in your face. And I think part of that was down to the fact that they got Kevin Shirley as an engineer. Of course, as you guys know, Kevin Shirley has become one of the most sought after producers in the rock world. He's done the last, I don't know how many Joe Bonomasses. He's done quite a number of Iron Maidens. He's worked with Aerosmith. He's worked with Journey. The list goes on. I mean, I had a look the other day at his list. There's a lot. So he was brought in as an engineer. It was still produced by, this is produced by Peter Collins and Rush. So that you can see they're chopping and changing with producers. But you can hear Kevin Shirley's stamp all over this album. Animate, the first track, great riff, really heavy song. Stick It Out, another one, just amazing. The bass and the drum work on this album is really sort of nice analog feel to it, 70s sort of sound. Cut to the Chase is another good one. Nobody's Hero, which starts with a really nice acoustic guitar. That's got some great thoughtful lyrics in there, thought-provoking lyrics, I should say. Between Sun and Moon, Alien Shore, The Speed of Love, Double Agent, Leave That Thing Alone, which was an instrumental. So over their career, they've done a few instrumentals. And the one on here is also really good. Maybe not as up there with YYZ, but it's still pretty good. Cold Fire and Everyday Glory. So yeah, a good album. I think the original cover had another piece that came over the top that you could take out. I think somewhere along the line I've lost that. Then we move on to 1996 Test for Echo. Interesting cover there. Another one very similar to Counterparts, maybe a bit more refined, but cleaner sound. Peter Collins produced this again. Also some great riffs, nice guitar work, great lead breaks from Alex. A lot less keyboards. So the 80s keyboards have been left behind, and they're moving on. Test for Echo, the title track's really good. Driven, Half the World, The Color of Light, Time and Motion, Totem, Dog Years, I think, which was a single that came off this album. That's very good as well. Virtuality, Resist, Limbo, and Carve Away the Stone. see if there's anything I can show you inside. Not really, there's no band shots, but you do get a lot of the lyrics and what have you, which is always interesting with Rush. With Neil Peart being such a prolific songwriter, it's always nice to know what he's saying. So there we go, that's Test for Echo. So in between Test for Echo and the following album, there was quite a bit of tragedy that hit the band, unfortunately. Neil Peart lost both his wife and his daughter, so he was not in a good space. If you watch the documentary, you'll see he got on his motorbike and he was just traveling all over the country trying to get things right in his head. In fact, the band weren't really sure if they were ever going to come back together and make another album. So eventually they reconvened, they got together sort of tentatively, and they came up with Vapor Trails, the following album. Unfortunately, that's the one and only Rush CD I don't have. The only album of theirs, the studio album, I don't have. A very dense album, a lot of riffs, very heavy, but nonetheless a very good album. And it was great to see them back. They did tour on the back of that, and I think once they got into the whole touring thing again, it started to level out. But I can't imagine what he was going through at the time. It must have been quite hectic. When you're in a band like that, a successful band, the pressures and everything else, on top of the grief that he had to deal with, yeah, it wasn't easy. Then we moved on to 2000, and that was in 2002, Vapor Trails, by the way. So 2007, we get Snakes and Arrows, which is this album here. Really nice album as well. The production on these is amazing. This is produced by Rick Ruskalinis, I think you say his name. He would go on to produce this album and the final one as well. A late friend of mine, Paul Knott, great friend of mine, he went to go see them on this tour in 2007, and he very kindly sent me the t-shirt. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because then you'd see my awful gut. Then he also sent me the program. And these guys didn't skimp on their fans. It's like Iron Maiden and other bands who really look after their fans. This is a glossy affair. It's got some amazing photographs inside. You see the guys there live. Just amazing. Good shots. Really nice, well put together. And then at the back, you've got the whole discography of Rush. DVDs, videos, and all the studio albums and what have you, plus the live stuff. So I was really chuffed to get this. Next best thing to seeing them, I guess. They never quite made it to South African shores. I would have loved to have seen them. I would have paid any amount of money to see Rush. Sell the wife if I'd had to. So Snakes and Arrows, yeah. This is it's a very polished affair, this album. The standout tracks on here are Far Cry, Working Them Angels, The Larger Bowl, Spindrift, The Main Monkey Business, that's very good, one to check out. Faithless, Good News First. There's about 12 tracks on here. Nice album. Then we move on to the final album that they would have done, and that was in 2012, Clockwork Angels. It's a concept album, and I think it was the first one they'd done since 2112, back in the 70s. And it's on their stage set, they had a whole sort of steampunk thing going to, sort of align this album with a particular theme. Their stage shows were always interesting. I mean, I think they used to have a backline of some washing machines going. Then they had a rotisserie going. They had a lot of humor, these guys. Sometimes the music was a bit serious, but I don't think they took themselves very seriously. So they'd always jack around on stage and have a good laugh, which is nice. You don't want guys to get too much up their own whatsits with the music. Keep things real. And I think that's what they were able to do. So this would be the final album. And if this is the album that you're going to go out on, nothing wrong with that. This is a really, really nice album. I got this through the Classic Rock magazine. So this is a special edition. Caravan, BU2B, that's a great track. Clockwork Angels, the title track. Some really great vocals from Geddy Lee and guitar work from Alex. The Anarchist, Carnies, Halo Effect, Seven Cities of Gold, The Wreckers, Headlong Flight, BU2B2, Wish Them Well, and The Garden. Yeah, really sad that there was nothing else after this, but I think, as I said, a great album to go out on. Really well put together. Tells you there's all the lyrics inside again. And yeah, you can see the whole steampunk thing there. So yeah, a nice album. So that was it for the studio albums as far as Rush went. They did release an album called Feedback. If you can get hold of this, it's worth it. So these are the tracks that they sort of grew up with from other bands. So they do covers of Summertime Blues, Heart Full of Soul, For What It's Worth, The Seeker, Mr. Soul, 7 and 7 Is, Shapes of Things, and Crossroads. So you can see those are all their influences, The Who and what have you. There's a picture of the guys in the middle. And I think this one came out, yes, my eyes are so bad. This was in the early 2000s, I think. Oh no, sorry. 2011, I think this was. Anyway, really nice album to get hold of, if you can. I think it is still in print. Then I just want to mention the live albums. I have mentioned a few already in previous episodes. The Clockwork Angels tour, that was their final tour. Great live album. This is quite rare. Rush, 1974. I think it was a bootleg in the beginning, and then they re-released it. It's about 68 minutes worth. So you got Working Man, In the Mood, Need Some Love, Finding My Way. So this is them right at the beginning when I think Neil Peart had just joined the band. It's worth checking that out. Then there's Rush Time Machine, which is also great. There's some nice tracks on here. BU2B, Free Will, Marathon, Subdivisions, Tom Sawyer, O'Malley's Break, Closer to the Heart. You got it all right through the career on this one. Also really nice production on that. And then there's the excuse me, Rush in Rio, which was a accompaniment to the DVD that came out. Both this live CD and the DVD suffers a bit from the production. It's very bass heavy. The crowd noise is incredible. I mean, the guys over there, they're quite mental. So you can't really hear the band that well. All you can hear is this overriding bass. It is still a very nice album to get hold of, though, yeah, just for the atmosphere, if nothing else. So that's Rush in Rio. And then I just quickly want to run through some of the DVDs. But before I do that, there's a book called Clockwork Angels, written by Kevin J. Anderson, and from a story and lyrics by Neil Peart. So this is an accompaniment to the last CD that they brought out. This came out after the CD, so it's accompaniment to the CD. It carries on the story, and it's sort of all the threads come together in that concept album. Really nice. My friend Paul very kindly sent this to me. Yeah, it's a really well put together book with some great illustrations inside. And then there's a picture of Neil at the bottom there in his drum kit. That man was so talented. I mean, he wrote books, wrote all the lyrics for Rush, drums, and also a really nice guy, which you don't find often in the rock world. So there we go. So the DVDs, I just want to quickly run through them. The Clockwork Angels tour, their last tour, this is the Blu-ray version. Really, really nice. Rush R30, the 30th anniversary world tour. There's all sorts of goodies on here, extras and things. This is a double disc. There's interviews, stuff from the vault, whole live concert. Really, really nice. This well put together. Their stuff has always been put together well. As I say, they looked after their fans. The Time Machine, this is the DVD version of it. Also 2 sets on here, some nice bonus material, and a really nice version of La Villa Strangiato on here with Alex Lifeson doing his thing. Really great. That's the Rush in Rio. As I say, not the best production. This is in the classic album series. They look at Rush 2112 and Moving Pictures. So that's the band talking about how they did the album, how they produced it and what have you. Very interesting as well. And then the Snakes and Arrows concert tour. Also 2 discs on here. 3 discs actually. There's all sorts of stuff on here. Is this an early warning? Ghost of a Chance, Red Barchetta, Subdivisions. So they go right through from the 70s through the 80s on this one and beyond. And then last but not least, I have mentioned it a few times in the previous videos, there's a really good documentary called Beyond the Lighted Stage, which follows the guys right from their early days, growing up at school together, right through the career. It's put together by Banger Films. They've done quite a few. Excellent documentary, one of the best I've seen. Check it out. So there we go. Rush, sorted, right from the 70s through to 2000s. A band that I really miss, and such a pity that they're no longer with us. But we have all this great music to listen to, DVDs to watch. I will catch you guys next time. Please like and subscribe down below. We're going to have a look at an early prog band next time. More than likely be Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I will see you guys then. Take it easy.